Buenos nachos, amigos, and welcome to another fine episode of Record Breakers. I am PETEY RAVE, your man with no plan. Here with me, as always, is my group, my friends, my co-compatriots, my fellow Record Breakers. We got Drew.
Hey, how's it going, guys?
We got Brett.
Ahoy hoy.
And we got Patrick.
Hi, Petey.
And joining us this week is, of course, our guest. We have a very special guest. We got Bryce Castillo, aka Nesh Complex. How you doing, Bryce?
I'm doing good. How about you guys?
We are doing well. We're gathered together to talk about music. And of course, Bryce has the album for us to talk about this week. Bryce, what album are you bringing to the table this week?
Yeah, this week I'm bringing 80Kidz's new full-length album, Face. I had a weird thing when I was asked to bring something because I was like, well, I could bring like a classic older album that I'm like super into, right? But this kind of jumped on my radar about a month or so ago, and it's the entire thing is in my playlist. It's a very I'm into it. It's very solid, and I wanted to see what you guys thought about it because it's kind of an interesting sound from a Japanese act that you probably wouldn't think of as Japanese unless someone told you.
Yeah. Let's start with Brett. I'm curious. What were your expectations coming into this album?
I had no idea what I was getting into. You sent me a link. You're like, all right, so I punch into my computer machine, and well, there's no Wikipedia article in English. There's one in Japanese. So I was like, okay, this is going to be interesting. And I was quite surprised with the product that I was given.
Mm-hmm. Drew, what expectations did you have coming into this album?
The only expectations were the expectations I had listening to Bryce's actual music. So I knew the stuff he created, so I figured, okay, he might be bringing something along those lines. So I was expecting some electronic, digitally made music of sorts. And that was about the only thing I was expecting.
Mm-hmm.
Other than that, I had no clue where we were going.
Mm-hmm. Patrick, what expectations did you have coming into this album?
Mine were pretty similar to Drew's. I've heard Bryce's music, which is electronic, but doesn't like fall into that annoying housey, dubsteppy, trappy thing that's happening in the last 5 or 6 years. He kind of explores a lot of other genres with it. So I was hoping it would be something in that sort of realm, and I ended up getting something probably kind of in that realm.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, did know what I was getting.
It's interesting to hear these expectations tied to my own music, because I think my own music is pretty dark. I think it's kind of dark and maybe a little serious, where this is the lightness of this album, I think, is a real big element.
Yeah. So, but yeah, let's talk about the themes and elements of this album. Bryce, what would you say makes this album tick? What would be the kind of the themes and elements of this album?
Well, when I think about an album and whether I like it or not, I think about how diverse the sounds are, but as well as how cohesive they are, which is sort of two opposite elements, but something it's like it's fresh. When I originally found out about 80Kidz's with this big single that they had called Miss Mars, it's very fresh, light, kind of repetitive song, but it's unique. It's unique. It really does just feel very light, but with substance. I'm not explaining this so great. But it hits a lot of modern electronic sounds without feeling, for me, without feeling like a stereotypical electronic music song. You know, there's not really a lot of any dubsteppy parts or trap sort of parts, but there are sort of like core modern electronic sounds. Like Avenge and Sting both kind of have that like beatbox kind of tinny retro sound as far as like the drums. They kind of have like a real clear drum machine sound. But that's like that. It's not that that's just in vogue right now. They do it well.
Yeah. Those are definitely some of the cool like elements. Like it has a very, very electronic sound that's really kind of interesting and unique, but not stereotypical. I'll start with you, Brett. Brett, what would be the themes and elements that caught your attention?
The beats are really, really tight. It's to the point where it doesn't feel drum machiney. It actually feels sometimes like there's somebody sitting down at a rolling digital kit and like laying down some beats. The additional instrumentation, the instruments that they bring in, just to to add that extra depth, stuff that I hadn't heard before. I'm not an electronic music aficionado. I'm more of the standard four dudes and some instruments, but this had something for me to listen to. The production level was tight. It really didn't rely on old, tired electronic music tropes. Of I'm gonna like turn the EQ all the way down and then slowly push it up as we hit a real fast snare. Let me hit that and then we're gonna do a breakdown. It didn't do a whole lot of that kind of stuff that really feels tired. It did things that I couldn't do, and that's really, really one of the things that really gets me with some of the music that like PETEY's brought and that Drew has made me listen to. When somebody does something that's fresh and new in a genre that's flooded by any kid with a half hour in his MacBook Pro, it's nice to see people sort of pushing things in different directions, and this album definitely did some of that.
Mm-hmm. Drew, what were some of the themes and elements that caught your attention about this album?
One of the first things that kind of caught my attention about this one was listening to it from front to back the first time through, was that a lot of folks who do, or a lot of the albums I've listened to in like sort of the electronic music sort of realm, the tracks tend to overstay their welcome, in my opinion. You get the beat and you get the groove and like you get the melody, but then they overstay. And it gets sort of boring. When I listened to this the whole time through, there was never a part where I was like, the song just kind of needs to end so I can get to the next one. Everything sort of knew where it was supposed to be, knew the time it was supposed to be there, and then got you into the next thing. And I really appreciated that. Everything that Brett and Bryce said was true. It's really a tight record from a compositional standpoint. There's really good beats going on in the background. There's really cool swells and melodies and stuff like that going on in the upper. And overall, it's got that new feel to it. Like Bryce said, it's fresh. You can tell this is like a sort of new band coming onto the scene in this genre. But it's very obvious in the parts where you can feel the inspiration from like sort of the 80s-ness of some of the parts, some of the synth parts and stuff like that, and I really, really appreciated that. Whereas something like we reviewed a few weeks back in Chromeo, where it's literally just, they're like, no, we're just going to be the 80s band. And then something like this, where it's like, we're going to take elements of the 80s band, but then we're going to also do something new with it. And I thought that was really cool.
It was so much fun. All those like 80s influences of like that, especially some of the freestyle sounds that are like, I think mostly there's a freestyle influence, and of course me being the Miami, I have to bring up Miami freestyle, but in a couple of the vocals in one of the songs, one particular song that we're going to bring up when we talk about key tracks, but some of that is so really cool. Patrick, what would be some of the key tracks some of the key themes and elements, not key tracks. We haven't gotten there yet. God damn it, PETEY. Get your shit together. Themes and elements, Patrick. Throw it at us.
From a construction perspective, like in terms of how the music was made, It is very reminiscent, and I mean this with the highest esteem, of early Daft Punk, where there's samples, there's drum machines, there's synths, but there's also liberal use of live played instruments, a lot of really great piano, which is clearly electronic, but it's a piano-y sound. It's not, just some synthy thing played on a keyboard. And a lot of really good guitar work played through probably 50 million in effects, and I have a feeling maybe he has a Roland synth rig on it or something where he's running that through something. I really wish these guys had an English Wikipedia where all like the music gear nerds had drilled down their rigs, but a lot of really good live instrument work within the context of electronic music. And I always, Daft Punk was my gateway drug to electronic music in general. I think a lot of people, that's the one that gets you in because it's poppy and it's easy to listen to, but it's a really good way down that path. And it sounded like two kids who grew up listening to Daft Punk, playing video games, but also happened to be really good musicians. And this is what they came up with, and I really, really liked it.
Yeah, I really liked it too, and I'm glad everybody else did. Bryce, what will be some of the key tracks for you? Some of your favorite songs or some of the more telling songs?
By far, and I don't know if it's just because it's most memorable or I really think it's the best, I Got a Feeling, the third track. Man, I love it. This, I think, is definitely talking about Daft Punk influences. Sounds a lot like older Daft Punk when they were kind of housey. It's a little repetitive, but it's got a real great energy and a real great punch. I love the piano sound. Talking about the pianos, it kind of doesn't sound totally real, but it's
like unreal.
It wants to sound real, but it purposefully doesn't quite sound real.
Right, and it doesn't sound like a...
It's so good.
Yeah.
It doesn't sound like a Casio. It sounds like a real nice electric piano, but not like an electric piano.
Mm-hmm.
I think the other... I guess if I had one other key track would be... probably Don't Wait Up. I love Veronica's vocals on it. I think she's got a really great voice, and that's a very, almost like maybe Madonna type 80s pop, 80s, like straight 80s pop song.
Yeah, that's where I was talking about the kind of the freestyle influence was with her vocals on Don't Wait Up. A lot of that vocal styling I hear in like a lot of, if you go back and like Expose and like all those Miami, I think Expose was New York, but that freestyle, those freestyle artists, those singers, they kind of all had a very like similar vocalization, which this invokes, that song invoked, yeah. Yeah. Those are the songs. I'll start with you, Brett. What were some of the key tracks for you?
Well, to go to my notes where I say, I Got a Feeling. This is the most memorable track from the album. So, the same echoes that I'm sure I'm going to probably hear further on. I really like the song Sting. It's got a really good hook. The thing about this album is you can pick it track by track, but this is a front to back kind of album. This is one of those where, there's no real high point, but there's no low. There's no song that you got to be reaching down to skip because it's an annoying song. It's very good to just like the soundtrack of your work day. So you could like pick a winner out of all these, but the best thing is it's the consistency throughout the entire album, and it comes and goes, and it's so different in different tracks. But this is a solid album. You can really find gold in any track.
Yeah. Drew, what would be some of the key tracks for you?
I really liked, I'm gonna go do the unrecord breakers thing and go, sort of bottom up. Face, sort of really was a cool, like, sort of that modern electropop tune. It was really jumpy, really, sort of had that happy feel to it. Can't Sleep. I loved the synth line in that. I don't know what it was about that synth line. It was just really, really cool throughout the entire song. And then, I Got a Feeling. Weird. We're gonna go back to that one. But like, that song was just really cool to me. Not only was the vocals cool, but like if you take out the vocals, it was every bit of the best parts of like that. And this is my nerddom coming out. That like sort of the Mario Kart, Mario Party like soundtrack, like that just sort of like it gets you grooving. It's ready to go. Like sort of feel to it is just fun. And like to me, I love what Nintendo does with that sort of music. So like for any band to sort of veer in that direction and get me thinking of them is a high praise from me. So
I got a feeling. Yes, as long as it's not about tonight being a good night. That's all that matters.
Petey, I hate you. I hate you so bad.
Patrick, what would be the key themes, the key tracks for you?
I'm not going to talk about I Got a Feeling, but it was good. I really, really, really love Dusk. I can't believe Drew didn't bring this one up. This one had the best bass line I've heard in a long time. And I think it sounded like someone played it on a bass. It might have been looped, but someone played that once or twice through, and it had a really good bass line they built the whole song on. Had a couple of weird samples in it I was okay with, didn't love, but weird samples are okay. But it was the way to do a song that's kind of a little lower tempo, a little softer, but it still had impact, which it just hit me. Venge was really, really good. It had a really great, dirty, gritty synth line. That's like the thing that got me into dubstep was that like really aggressive synth sound. And this had that, but without all the wubbiness. And it was kind of cool just to get a really, really good dirty synth line and make it work. And Don't Wait Up. That was like happy, really, really good use of, people talk about electronic music being repetitive. And I think the problem is they don't see, I think what a lot of it is, which is evolution of a theme. It's taking a repeating theme and evolving it through the song and trying to do 3, 4, 5 different things with it. And that was a really good example of how to evolve a theme throughout a song. And the last song, Dying in My Dreams, just sounded like super Daft Punk, and it was the Daft Punk song I wanted to be on Random Access Memories that wasn't, because I was like one of the 4 people that didn't like that record, because it wasn't the Daft Punk record I demanded, which is okay, but I have to keep waiting.
Yes, you'll have to keep waiting. Yeah, those are some few tracks, and I'm surprised nobody did the Record Breakers thing and talked about the opening track, Egyptian Raver, which I for many times kept. I think for several weeks until I when I was looking at it on Spotify, I kept reading as Egyptian River. Just throwing it out there. In fact, to the point where I was initially throwing together some information on the doc. And I threw that song in there because I figured somebody was going to do the Record Breakers thing. And I initially wrote it Egyptian River.
That would be the Nile.
Yes. And not denial. No. So, let's go back around the horn and talk about some conclusive thoughts. Brett, what would be your conclusions about the album overall?
I enjoyed this album as like a workday soundtrack. Like I said, there's no garbage that you have to skip over. There's no real low points. This is a great album if you want to just put something on, listen front to back while you're doing, like show notes for the podcast or something. I don't know. It worked out pretty good. I enjoyed it. There's a lot of electronic music I don't enjoy, and I'm very vocal about it. But this hit where it should have hit, and it didn't rely on tired old tropes.
Yeah, it's perfect for playing Minecraft too. Yeah, just kind of sitting there, just mining, just doing a strip mine. Just go.
I've done that plenty of times. Yeah.
Yes.
Yep. That's literally. That's actually accurately described many of my streams. Just strip mining.
Strip mining with 80Kids.
This is 1, 3 up, 3 down, 3 up, 3 down, 3 up, 3 down. Drew, what would be your conclusions about the album overall?
Overall, I would say the 80 and the 80s kids, very apt. And all of it was really good. Like Brett said, there's not really anything you would want or you would feel the need to skip. In this type of album, usually I have one of those, and he's right, there isn't one on this record, so that to me is great. And like I said, nothing overstays its welcome. Everything is very concise and very knows what it wants to be, and to me that's the sign of a smart artist who really cares about what they're doing, is they know where they need to start and where they need to end, and that's sort of what they let it be. And this album played with a lot of different sounds and a lot of different feelings in it, but it all came back to this place that's like everybody here has already said, I might not be in Minecraft minds, but I put this on a few times during the couple of weeks that I listened to it, and played me some StarCraft, and that's just what it was. You sort of get gung-ho about doing whatever you're doing, so.
And just get, you groove to it. Patrick, what would be your conclusions about the album overall?
This album is why I do the podcast. That was the whole point, was to find things I would have never found on my own. And then listen to them. And we've had some, like PETEY brought me Bad Rabbits and Love X Stereo. Drew, slightly before the podcast, brought me, Deals Gone Bad. Like, there's things that I would have never heard before, if not for, talking.
And I brought you Deep Purple and
I have Deep Purple.
Rush.
Yes, because I didn't already have that. Okay,
Brett,
you brought me
don't go
MC
deep
Chris,
cuts.
Brett. You brought me MC Chris, and I will thank you for that. But I love this. I am amazed at how much. The first time through it, I was like, this isn't bad. The second time through it, I was in. It got me. This is one of those things where it's like, I need to go listen to everything these people have ever done. If this is what they do, is this sort of like really exploratory, electronic sound where there's a song in here with sitar. Just sort of tossed in there because why not? And it was this weird, it's called Into the Sun. It's got this weird like Middle Eastern vibe going on, but on top of a really with a really classic drum break under it. It's awesome. It's such a like none of these things match each other, but it works. And there's a ton of talent here, and this is one of those, whenever their next album comes out, I will be in. Because it's so good.
It'll be soon in February, because they're coming out with the remix album of this whole album.
Hey, remix albums are sometimes okay.
Yeah.
Wait, is it 80Kidz's doing remixes, or?
I think it's. All I saw is that it's called Face Remodel, and it's coming out in February. I haven't seen any further information. I was looking up the band and looking up their website and their Wikipedia, but that's apparently what's on the docket. And
finding them online is very difficult because A, they don't have an English Wikipedia page, and B, if you go to one of the links when you Google them, you go to an old version of their website from like 2012 or 2013.
Yeah.
So,
but go find this album; it's fan-fucking-tastic.
It's on Spotify. It will be on our Spotify playlist.
Oh, was it on Spotify? Oh,
yep.
wow.
Yes, it was on RDO as well. So.
Nice.
It was on Google Music.
So you have no excuse. Go listen to it.
Yeah. They apparently know what CD Baby is, so you know what? Though I don't know if necessarily that was their distributor, but good job on them. But yeah, Bryce, you get the last word. What is your conclusion about the album overall?
It's solid. It's mirroring what everyone said. It's a real. I would say, because there are so many different sounds, I almost wish it was the track order was different. Because right now it's a little bit of a hodgepodge, right? You've got Egyptian Raver, which is real hard and break beats, and then you have the two really radio, I Got a Feeling and Don't Wait Up, and then I wonder if reordering it would make it a better album front to back. But man, it hits a lot of bases. It hits the old schooly jazz house. It's got modern house, modern electronic, modern core electronic sounds. And order or not, you can't go wrong here.
Yeah. It is just so much fun. And I was actually worried about how the rest of the guys were going to think, because I loved it. I was like, I love this. I love this, but I don't know how the other guys are going to think about this because it was just such a different sound, such a different electronic sound. So I'm just glad everybody loved it as much as I did. But yeah, now that we've had our thoughts on the album, we go to our main event of the evening. Of course, our haiku reviews. This is where we sum everything up into a simple little poem as best as we can, which is not well at all, but. Enjoy. Let's see. I'll start with Brett. What is your haiku?
Fantastic bass lines and great instrumentation. I dig this album.
Mm-hmm. I'm going to throw mine right now. Synth pop and freestyle. Songs perfect for grooving out. I just want to dance. Drew, what is your haiku?
Interesting pair with a lot of 80s flair. Compose a good tune.
Mm-hmm.
It's almost like a limerick.
You're breaking haiku rules.
Yeah.
Doesn't say you can't rhyme.
Patrick, what is your haiku?
Echoes of Daft Punk. Genuinely excellent. So glad I heard this.
Mm-hmm. And Nesh Complex himself gets the last word. Bryce, what is your haiku?
Sweet freshness breaks clean, jumping back and forth and back. Lovely, but conflict?
Mm-hmm. That's a lot more highbrow than any of our haikus. What are you doing? You're classing up the joint too good. But yes, those are our haikus. Those are our thoughts. You can check out.
You have one?
Yes, I said synth pop and freestyle.
Okay.
Songs perfect for grooving out, and I just want to dance. I just want to dance. But yeah, those are our thoughts on the album. You can check out that album on the Spotify playlist. I link it with every show post. It's there in the show notes. So go there and check it out. On that Spotify playlist is going to be next week's album. And of course, if there's a guest on, that means next week is my album. And my album is this album by these gals behind me. Those girls that you constantly see over my shoulder. We're finally going to talk about them. It's FX's Red Light. We're actually going to delve into the actual world of K-pop. Look forward to that. But that's it. That's next week. Bryce, thanks again for coming on the show.
Thanks for having me.
What do you have going on the internet?
Boy. Well, you can find me on my Twitter, where I usually am. You can get in contact with me at Brycas, BRYCAS. And if you're interested in the music, if you're interested in a dark 80Kids, 80Kids, the Negaverse version. Check out the website neshcomplex.com, NESHCOMPLEX. I have a lot of free music. A lot of music's on SoundCloud. And there's a Patreon link there where I'm doing new music stuff. But yeah, I like having music available. And this might be too inside baseball, but did you know the Nesh Complex music library can be streamed on Twitch? ?
Yes.
Yeah. So.
All available to all your streamers out there. Just play it on as freely as you wish.
Yes. And you should genuinely go listen to it. Kid's got talent.
Mm-hmm. I should have probably grabbed the Mercury counter. I have it over there somewhere. But I'm not going to get it.
You should probably, with Bryce's permission, make it the outgo music on the podcast.
That would be fun. I might just do that. Sorry, Squiggles. I'll throw on a track as our go away music, and it will start now. And of course, you can find us all over the internet. Patrick is at the Swagger. Brett is at Hibbity Bearbird, HIBBITYBIBBARD. Drew is at X Drucifer X. I'm at PETEY RAVE. Of course, Bryce is at Brycas, as he said, BRYCAS. The show is at 4 Record Breakers. That's the number 4 Record Breakers. That's 4 Horsemen. We are for Record Breakers. RecordBreakersPodcast.com, RecordBreakersPodcast@gmail.com, iTunes, Stitcher, like us, share, subscribe to the YouTube page. My goal this year is 200 subscribers. It's right there, number one on my 2015 goals. So subscribe to the YouTube page. I'll post not just this. I am going to Austin to hang out with Bryce for South by Southwest, so I'm probably going to be doing video stuff for K-pop night, Japan night, and other South by Southwest stuff. So keep an eye out for that. It's all going to be on the YouTube page. Make sure you're going to do video stuff, not just a cursory video version of the podcast. But that's it. Follow the things, share, subscribe. Until next time, hasta los huevos.
Toodaloo, y'all.
Bye.